again, going back to, you know, thought, again, winter was outstanding. Spring was really good. We stayed reasonably healthy through those periods. We did have a good class on paper. Added a couple good walk-ons. We got everybody back for the most part of the team and the walk-ons. So we got some better depth. Or when I say depth, we still need to be a lot better at every position. So it ain't like we're walking around just with all the answers and just excited and pleased everywhere. But there's, you know, a lot of guys have played. A lot of guys in year 3 or year 2 that have gotten stronger. Some of you guys had a chance. You saw Mark Hill. He'll be out. Those guys do an awesome job. And going back from when we started, when I was talking about being the coach here, my one quote, if I say I got to have something, it was I need commitment to the weight room. Because May, June, and July, we're not allowed as coaches to be at those workouts at all. During the recruiting period, you can be there if you want to, but you're basically gone recruiting. So those guys are spending more time with our kids than us. So again, Mark Hill, I think, is special. Will Peoples came with him. Both those guys were at Oklahoma. Will played. I thought we had good teams there, and it wasn't just always great talent tradition. We did a good job with Jerry Schmidt and his crowd at developing those guys. And I think if you watch us keep going, you're going to see guys getting stronger, getting faster, getting more mature. I think you've seen a little bit of practice, and hopefully that's going to translate into better play. You still got to go play. I know Coach Walker used to say all the time, we don't have a bench press competition on the 50-yard line. But the stronger you are, the more confident. We do have a speed-oriented staff. If you watch our team, we don't have a bunch of what I'd call very heavy, sloppy players. That's a lot of the way we train. But with Mark Hill, Will Peoples, Rick Dannison, who's been here, had an experience with the Bengals, I think a quality guy. Lionel Anderson's been with us in his 4th year, and then Deontay Mack, a former player. You got O-line guys, D-line guys, tight end guys, skill guys. It's a diverse group that can relate to those players. And I think we had a good summer. So if you guys want something to peek on, because, we're not allowed to be there, but maybe ask some of the players or some of the coaches about what goes on in summer, because, again, a lot of games are won and lost without the coach being there and where they start at. And I think we're starting at a higher point. We have a long way to go, and we're not close to what it needs to be. So anyway, like the way things, I think we came back in very, very good shape. You can tell, I think, looking at us, we are bigger. I think the strength numbers are stronger. We haven't maxed out since I've been here, and I'm not supposed to know the numbers from summer workout because then it makes it not voluntary. But when you're sitting there looking at guys that weighed 268 last year, now they're 295. They've got a little bit. Shoot, one of our Mr. Fisher like this. Our one punter, Mr. Campos, I think went from a 225 bench of 1 to maybe 9 or 10. Now he's all piped up and got a little swag. So I got the punting out right of the way just for you, Fish. Okay, and his bench press looks good. So anyway, a lot of guys are back. Things like summer's been good. Now we've had 4 days. It's off to a pretty good start. But we hadn't done a whole lot. In the first 2 days in helmets, we've yet to really cut it loose and go. We're trying to work the young guys in, and we're trying to get, taking weightlifting and track, which is what the summer is. And you do summer ball, but it's different when you really get into playing with pads and how to play fast with pads, how to play fast when you're getting hit. A lot of guys play fast when there's no contact. When the pads get on, do they still play at that same speed? And as coverages adjust and guys tweak things, do they play at the same speed? So it's so early camp to say we're doing good. In my opinion, it's okay, but it needs to be a lot better, because I think our standard needs to be where this team can practice at a consistent high level. We got a lot of depth, a lot of guys back, and we're healthy. Roster updates, we talked about those quickly the other day. I have gotten notification that our one guy, Daryl Chestnut, is going to be in a similar situation to Taj. So he will not be here for the fall. In our plan, we're looking at the choices of trying to get him as a mid-year. And so that being said, we'll replace him with another walk-on. That will give us 6 walk-on spots that we will reward with scholarships here probably about a week and a half from now. So next Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, we'll go through the scrimmage. And we've got some again, to me, we've got 12, 14, 15 walk-ons that are special team and 2 deep that help us still. And so the unfortunate Daryl, but at the same time, we did sign 3 backs. If you've seen us, Leray looks very fast. We got the other animals back. And those 2 guys moving forward, Taj and Daryl, the plan will be to try to get their situations, and they're very close, where they're officially eligible where they would start in January. And then what I can do right now is use their space for a walk-on. When our mid-year players graduate and move on, we can replace. And in the scholarship world, they still are part of last year's 23. And we can still go sign forward. So it doesn't take an initial scholarship away. So anyway, that we talked about Chase Hubler, who about 10 days ago had some irritation coming off an injury. Said he thought things were great. And just maybe, I don't know if we came back too soon or just the way he's made, but has a stress fracture that will be operated on, and probably typically that'll take pushing 4 months. So that maybe basically shoots his year. We are lucky in that in signing 4, the JC guys, with Funderburk being here mid-year, there's a lot more depth, a lot of guys coming back, and we played last year without Chase the bulk of the year. So it's really unfortunate more for him than us, because I think our team's getting, again, when I'm talking about depth, it's not injury. The depth is for competition and guys fighting to get on the field. So again, there's more guys, and to me, he's a good kid, 4th-year kid, a good dude, good student, and you want him to do well. So it's more of you feel for Chase. Then all of a sudden there's going to be some issues at back, and we'll move forward in a good way. And again, good teams handle adversity. I go to last year, we came out okay. We kind of first game made Trey not run the ball. Kind of got into it the second game the way it was going to go. When he got hurt, we didn't handle those next 5 games well. We didn't handle our programs yet to handle adversity. Moving forward, we'll see if we're more mature physically, but then also mentally. Because as you go through this game, it's how you deal when things don't do well. Because, again, we miss a bunch of blocks, and the best team in the country does. And we miss tackles, and the best team in the country. We call bad plays, and the best teams in the country do. But you keep compounding good and good and good, and more good things happen. And we got to get to a point, year 3, physically better, a lot of guys back, good class, that when you get a bump in the road, it's a bump. And it's not a detour, and we keep moving forward. Real quick, offensively, you got the 10 starters back, but Colin Rory's got 16 starts, and he's the one guy you say that is not a starter. So you kind of got basically everything. If you guys don't really watch linemen, but if you do, he's probably lineman 3 or 4 out there playing. He's a good player. Probably our best backup player on the offensive line, and maybe in our top 5 is Jake Reed, and they're in a battle to figure out who the center is, but. That being said, it's got Bernard Taylor playing a little bit better in guard and Dan Feeney coming on at guard because there's some really good competition. Ralston Evans, Pete Bachman, Dimitri Camille give us tackled bodies, but those guys need to play at a higher level because Peyton Eckert and Spriggs are solid, really decent tackles, maybe better than decent. Our other guys are big, but Bachman that we've moved from DN, Pete Bachman out of Cincinnati, and Dimitri Camille, who we redshirted. And then Ralston Evans, who was very impressive in spring. We need somebody there to be next guy in that's a high-level guy. Because, again, you can get a hiccup along the way, and the play needs to not fall off. Inside, we're a little bit better. With guys like Cody Evers, I think he's got 1 career start, and sometimes right now might be working with our 3s. The way that Jacob Bailey's came on as a redshirt sophomore, and the way that David Kaminsky as a redshirt freshman for Jacob Bailey, and a redshirt sophomore for David Kaminsky. So there's some good depth inside. Tight end, Ted's a solid player. Got to get so much better blocking, having a great presence and being complete. Casaro's a quality player. Short term, Matt Zacheski's been an impressive different player. I'd like to see that continue. I got 4 days and only 2 shoulder pads. And that's not just as a fullback. It's either he or Danny Friend as a third guy. Strong, looks good. We need to get him to play well. And we'll see if he can help us at fullback. And we're also messing a little bit, or experimenting with Mike Raplogle, who's played DN, played linebacker, to be a little fullback to give us some short yardage, goal line, and every day. We do that Big Ten period, but what we're doing is getting our short yardage and things ready when that happens. So that's a good thing for us. The most experienced positions offensively are the running backs, receivers, and there's some depth in players. Stephen Houston, a quality player. Tevin Coleman having as good a spring preseason 4 days as he had in spring, and he's very talented. D'Angelo is the third, really intrigued with LeRae Smith, very, very fast. It's getting him to know which way to go and hang on to the ball, but it goes really fast. And he's hands down the fastest person who walks in this building. He can roll. So we got some speed there. We'll see if we can channel that into being a good player. But, got a chance at tailback, but we ain't been good at tailback since we've been here. And even though coaches have nothing to do with this as much, this isn't from 1990 till now. I believe this is the first time I've had 2 straight years without a 1,000-yard back. We're still very average at back, and it's not offensive line; it's backs too now. Because sometimes we get, and Buck knows this, we get what we block, and it ain't taking 1 from 80, but it's taking 2 and getting 3 and 4. And so we need to be a lot better there. It's a competitive situation. Those guys need to step up, as do the tight ends, to help the line so that run game can get going. Receiver-wise, maybe our best because, one, decent players, healthy, but there is strong competition there. Whether it be DeWeese Wilson, who's looking good right now, and he's with the 2s, he's looking as good as anyone. Isaiah Roundtree, who's backing up Shane Winter, Ricky Jones at slot, looking really good. You got Nick Stoner out there. We'll be intrigued with whether Isaac Griffith or Anthony Young. So there's going to be some players other than just Cody and Kofi and Shane Wynn. And we need those because in our deal, we're going to play fast enough. You need some guys there. So some depth. In the last deal, quarterbacks, all have looked good. Not as sharp as I want, but again, it's early. Not bad by any means. We're all doing a lot more moving around, whether it be movement throws, awkward throws, quarterback run game, and we're throwing it a lot. So I like what we got. We'll see how it plays out, and we don't have a timeline. But we're working them hard, and they're all doing well. They're not going to talk to you guys until the end of this week because I want those guys to play ball. And right now, it is, and it's not. We're not trying to be nice to them. They all do well. You saw practice today. Most of you did. They're solid. Like to see them be better. Defensively, we definitely got to make some strides. A lot of guys back. 9. We lose the 2 D tackles. With Raplogle and counting 3, counting Sliger. So you got Sliger, Raplogle, and Larry Black gone. Both Ralph Green, Alex Todd, Darius Rayner coming back. With the guys we've got, we even have Bobby Richardson playing some in there today, who is pushing 280, 75, but a little bit more active. So you don't play there all the time. But in certain situations, when you're playing stretch teams and you're playing sweeps or passing situations. So we're very talented there. We're very low inexperienced, and maybe that's the Achilles heel. But not sliding the guys that left because 2 of those guys went to pro camps. The guys that came in and the guys that are there, there's more talent than's been there. It's inexperience. We'll see if it plays. We got to get better at end. That's why Bobby's been outside. We even had Darius Latham a little bit playing outside. We've got to make some play at defensive end. We've got Phyllis back. Zach Shaw's looked solid. Mangieri's looked solid. But we haven't been bad, but we got to make some plays out there. We need some game-changing plays, some pressure, some stops by harassing the quarterback and making people feel uncomfortable. And it's been a little too comfortable whether we could stop the run or get after the quarterback. So a lot of competition, a lot of guys playing, and Coach Fabs and Coach Patton doing a good job there. Linebacker-wise, we need some step-ups there more than D-line. Because right now I don't think our linebacker play has been high since I've been here. Okay, we've got Cooper back, we got Jakari back, we got Griffin back. We've got Flo Harden back. But we need some guys to play significantly better at back, run and pass. William Inge is a good coach. We're doing a lot defensively to hopefully simplify some communication and where our eyes go to cut it loose and play fast. We got to play better there, though. The freshmen are really good. TJ Simmons, really good. You saw him in spring. Clyde Newton, Marcus Oliver, really good. Chris Smith, very good, but a little light. Those guys are very, very talented. Will they play? Got a chance to be on teams. Got a chance to compete. Need them better. There's some things to work with, but we need Cooper and Griff, and we need Jakari, and we need Flo Harden to start playing like Big Ten defensive players that play linebacker in this league. Secondary, Heben and Murphy solid at safety, and they'll be challenged because Antonio Allen's pretty good. And so there'll be some things going on there. We did take Tim Bennett. We were going to do it in the spring, but with Murphy being out, with Dutra and Allen not being here, Tim Bennett played some safety. He's a more physical guy. Timmy Bennett's out at corner. We wanted to do it in spring, just numbers didn't allow it. Hopefully that doesn't hinder him and us. But I think you'll see him start. And this between Mike Hunter that started or Kenny Mullins started. But we've got guys that started. It's been too easy to start on defense. We got Rashard Fant coming in as a young guy. So with Dutra, Allen, Fant on the back end, those young backers with Allen and Latham up front, as the pads go and it gets week 2, it'd be nice to see some of those guys in the mix to play. we start hitting and thumping, we won't. Right now, everybody's chuckles a clown. But about 10, 12 days into 2 days, we'll see if those guys really want to cut it loose and fly around and play. So, like the guys, the last kickers, punt situation, Campos and Toth. Toth's a returner, but Campos is off to a great start. There's some competition. Mitch Ewald, definitely our kicker. Got a quality player at snapper, and our return guys are back. So a lot of guys back. But I'm telling you, it's guys with this group can be pretty decent. And as we go, we got to learn how to kick it up in practice and how to study, take care of my body, have the mindset, and come in like a high-level player and not come in and just go work hard. We're working hard. But how to come in, work at a high level, and see if we take the steps. So that's a quick rundown of the guys. And with that being said, we'll turn over what you got here for a while. Well, again, the calendar gave us a chance to have a 4, 5, 6 day break. We're here for summer. The way we have so many weeks off, so summer school ended a week ago Friday. Our first practice was this Friday. So we kind of had one of those weeks but it wasn't spring break week. You still need to stretch and keep your groin and hammy and keep your weight. We had a target weight where you need to be at, and you were going to be, judged by coming in. We told you to weigh 254 pounds. Did you make it? Weigh 172 pounds. Did you make it? So our team quote had a weigh-in. So, but there was a little break fresh. We do have better. Now, what I'm looking for, we got good leaders in the locker room. I think we got good leaders around the dorm and in the community. I need some leaders when the bullets are flying on the field to step up with how we lead and what we accept. And missing a tackle or missing a block ain't always just okay. My bad. Because my bad ain't, it ain't okay when you drop a pass and guy says that's okay. It ain't okay. When you got a pick six and you drop it, it ain't okay. And so as we go through this, what I'm looking for and pushing to see some of these kids I think that are awesome kids and doing a good job leading, how do we start leading on the field? And it's kind of tough in the no-huddle world. You don't really circle the wagons and talk a whole lot because you're kind of a little bit on the island doing it yourself. But again, what is our standard and how do we lead with performance is what I'm really looking for.
You guys, I saw you guys at Bristol the other day, and one thing Urban Meyer said was the next 3 weeks are going to make or break every team in America. That's he was talking about preseason practice. Is that just because there's so many more practices concentrated as opposed to the rest of the season, or how do you see that, and what do you want to get done in these 3 weeks?
Well, in our world, with the 4 non-conference games at home, and to have the season you want to have, you got to start fast. So are we good enough to be off base and play at a high level and get the wins you want because of your talent or the matchup in the schedule? I don't know and believe, quote, I don't know what mid-season form is, okay? But I do think we need to, quote, start fast. And I think that's one of the exciting things of our schedule. Opening up with an in-state team. We played Indiana State last year, so we know them. We know the matchup. We know how it went. We got Navy the next week. We know how it went. We have Bowling Green the next week. And then Missouri. So it kind of, to me, it should excite our players where practice just isn't practice. What I think happens is in 2 days you start. The worst thing is where our guys lift and train. But we pop those pads. And when you pop those pads, there's a physical presence that no matter what your defense or offense is or you're kicking, your team has to have. And when you pop your pads, you got to reestablish what that is. And it's a snowball that either melts or it gets bigger as it rolls downhill and it gains momentum. And I think if you do things right, you physically get stronger and tougher and it grows. Now you can't beat your team up, but if you don't lay that foundation of what we're going to stand on and kind of build that, you're not going to have the team, whether you're spread or 3-man front, 4-man front, blitzing or not blitzing. If you don't have a physical presence, it's hard to be good in college football, and it is impossible to be good in this league if you don't have a physical presence. And that doesn't mean running the ball. The way you make competitive third downs and scoring and game-changing plays. So you pop those pads. Now you got them on, and we all get 29. We all get 29 opportunities, and they're all scrimmages. Like I say, we've yet to, we've been in 2 helmets and 2 shoulder pads. But you're building the attitude, running the football and playing good defense more than anything else. And that's the 2 things our program doesn't do good yet. Those things are attitude more than scheme and more than players. There's a mindset that says how I play D, and there's a mindset that says because those 2 things are physical, combative. You're willing yourself that we're going to do something. And for us to make strides, we're stronger, more mature. But that, to me, is what the beauty of preseason's about. Also, with so many guys coming back, you also want to be then fresh. So how do you build this toughness and stay fresh? And as a coach, you're always learning that. I will say, the guy I worked for at Oklahoma was the best I've ever seen, and I've been around a lot of coaches. But how to be tough, demanding, but keep guys mentally and physically fresh. He had a gift in that deal. He was special. We're trying to see if we can get that as a gift in players, but that was a unique deal. One is I see us playing on our feet a lot more, where guys are strong to stay up. And because in our world sometimes, and it's a bad deal, you stay up, your pad level gets high, your D line gets high, your O line gets high, your backs come run through high. There's a pad level you got to play with. Even though we're talking about targeting and helmets, there's still, the guy with leverage wins. But when you play so low, you're following, you get all the friendly fire. And it's not the running back that gets tackled. It's getting thrown into a D-line, my buddy's knee, my safety, my buddy's knee. So staying on our feet shows me we're a lot stronger because we're not stumble bumming around and falling all over the place. And I'm just talking about there's 22 guys flying around running, and you see some guys physical, staying on blocks, getting off blocks, and at the end of the play, there's 22 guys that look kind of good moving around and staying up. We haven't done enough full go yet to say, well, I just feel the line of scrimmage. But again, for example, I notice our receivers. I see guys catching the ball near the sidelines and are strong enough they're staying in bounds because the sideline never misses a tackle. So one of our gigs is you should never run out of bounds when we're practicing. You know what I'm saying? Unless we're practicing 2 minutes. So when we're practicing, get used to making guys make tackles. And so I see guys fighting to do that. So, and again, just in general, we've played basically the first 2 years without a 300-pound old lineman. We'll average more than that this year. So we're getting there. And what's exciting is these big guys are getting bigger, and we don't have a senior in the crowd. So we even got more time. The deal is we're starting at a good place and how far we can go. And no matter how far we go, we keep going because there's a lot of growth as we keep moving. The deal is, can we keep growing? It's going to be a challenge.
What do you think about playing on Thursday night? And if you're going to do that, are you happy to do it at the beginning of the season rather than have it be disruptive in the middle somewhere?
Yeah, Thursday. I'm the person that wanted to play on Thursday because I wanted a few more days to transition to the second game because we're Navy's now. It's not sliding Indiana State. They had the ball for a chance to tie or win the game on us last year. But to get ready for that option, it's 2 more days of preparation. And we do some things. We did a little bit today. We have a segment that we do, but it was really to play because you make more strides from week 1 to week 2, and we're also playing. Because I asked really for 2 things when I got here. I said I need these guys as strength coaches, and I go, when you play an option football team, it's a total waste of what you do defensively. You change philosophy-wise everything you do. From a D-line perspective to a linebacker's perspective, it doesn't fit. So it's 7 days of waste. Okay? And those guys running, they're awesome. So the real deal, we're playing Thursday night. Looked like last year we're playing for a chance to control our destiny in a 24,000 people game. So I don't know who's coming anyway. So it wasn't about crowd. It was not sliding Indiana State. It was getting ready to play Navy. And I pushed for that as hard as I could because I felt it was best for our program. And that's not a slight of Indiana State because we saw last year what those guys and Secure and that group can do. So it wasn't a slight of them, but playing Navy's opener, and for this team to be successful, we need to start well and do our best against those teams, and they're going to be a challenge. Because you saw what Indiana State did last year. We saw Navy, that's a bowl team. Bowling Green is a bowl team, as good as teams that has beaten us, and then here comes Missouri, that's a very talented SEC. And we need to get those games. So in doing that, I wanted 2 more days. And so we'll go through preseason sprinkling, then we'll have game week Indiana State, and what we'll do out of that, Terry, we'll have a Saturday, Sunday, take Monday off, then a Tuesday, Wednesday. So it's not like an open date, but I'm still in to really change gears. The best thing is not the Thursday night game first or middle of the year. The best deal is we get the option over with earlier. Because last year I kept having to do it there. So, now we'll say this. We use the option to try to have the offense to understand a little bit of pad level. Because the way we play, you can play high. So I don't use that as a negative. But I appreciate our administration and the Big Ten Network giving us that opportunity because I think it's in the best interest of our kids. And now we still got to go play. There's no guarantees, but I think that's going to be big for us. Whether you do good or bad, really the year before has nothing to do with it because it's a completely new crowd. You got new leaders, both teams. You've got new guys coming in. They have a new coach coming in. So just because you lost a year ago or won a year ago, really, hey, other than if you think it gives you confidence or lack thereof, truly, if you're a good football team, starting in January, you wipe this clean and you started the process again. So we can have better numbers or worse numbers. This is this team. And this team never really got together, ever, until 4 days ago. Because our coaches weren't with us in summer. The first time we were all together, actually, was before we went paintballing on the first. And that was actually this is the first time we have been together, united as a group. Here's what we need to do. We had a lot of us there. So there's a lot of dynamics every year. It starts back over. And like I said, I just like the fact we got a challenging schedule. And I love the fact we got 8 home games. We had 6 the first year. You should do a study. How many Big Ten teams play 6 at home? How many do it back-to-back years? Potentially, we'll do it 4 of my first 5 years. So I don't want all this complaining about 8 home games I can't come. How about coming and getting loud and let's win some games together and get this thing going the right way? That's what I want. I want everybody to jump on right now. Let's get rolling. These kids are going to play hard, and we're going to have some fun. And let's be a little bit more proactive. Let's get excited about having 8. So you do make strides from week 1 to week 2, so you really can coach up during that open week and not be rushed, because you got a catch your breath a little, because that won't be a free weekend. We'll be here. We got rules of time and what we can and can't do, but I'm not talking coaches. Our players, we'll be using that as a big stepping stone weekend. That's true, but again, when you're on the Big Ten Network, you're getting it every week. Game 3's ESPNU. Be nice to get more on ESPNs, because you really get good coverage there, because everybody's going to click on that one on Saturday. So we're going to get coverage, but it is good to get Thursday. It is good to get the coverage you're talking about. Same time, there's 2 Big Ten games. I think we're a little bit the satellite game. You'd love to have been the prime timer.
Do you talk to the kids about outside expectations? Because I know inside the locker room, the expectations are always high.
Yeah, not really. I would like our outside expectations to be high, where I think our fan base and alumni expect and want and demand more, not accept the fact if we don't coach well or we don't come to play well and don't get the outcome we get, we're not going to get every call, we're not going to get every bounce, and maybe don't get every game, but I'd like the outside expectations to be high. But what we've really concentrated for quite a while is really just our organization and those guys to your right and what they do in there. So don't talk a lot about it. Matter of fact, we actually talk sometimes really that we don't think people still expect a lot of us, and try to stroke that chip on the shoulder a little bit. Because quite honestly, I don't think people expect a lot out of us yet, and you want to use that as a little bit of a motivating factor, because one of my pet peeves is always trying to do everything you can to prove people wrong in what you're doing. It's a great deal of satisfaction in doing so. So we actually try to use the opposite of what you're saying and stroke it a little bit. When Trey got hurt, really got limited with how much we exposed the quarterbacks. Didn't feel Cam or Nate were strong enough and been with us, and we didn't have anyone other than those 2 that we thought we could win with. So we really limited. We did a lot to protect those guys with the pressure put on them, and the mental pressure and the thought and the hits that we want those guys to take, the ability to run. Line will be more mature, can handle more. Receivers can adjust and handle more conversions of routes. We got to make those strides defensively. And I think we're doing some things defensively, whether just being subtle commitment to where guys are spaced, to where their eyes are, to be a little bit more better and run defense. You always try to take advantage of personnel, and so you're always tweaking a little. But I think the gist of what we do, we still kind of do. We need to do it better, though.
On that note, Coach Mallory said, I think the other day, that he thinks on defense they can play 3 linebackers more often, not necessarily have to go as much nickel. One, do you think that's, do you agree with him on that note on defense, and is there anything that you can do offensively different, maybe because of personnel that way?
Well, again, you're allowed to match substitutions. So when everybody talks about no huddle, if they run a receiver out, you have time to bring someone to cover him. The deal is, if you got a dude that can block and play receiver, play tight end, flex out, play running back, and you start moving them around, well, you want linebackers and safeties that can do that. Big enough, strong enough to be run support players, athletic enough to play in space. Now, certain situations and substitutions, you'll go to nickel or even dime, or something, whether it be 60, whatever, you name it, 7, whatever. Three-man rush, drop 8. Goal line, bring all your big boys in there, whatever. So you're always going to match up. But I do think with guys like Flo, who's a converted safety, Clyde Newton, who's a running back, playing linebacker, Chris Smith, the same kind of deal, with Jacardi's ability, I think you'll see a little bit more linebackers that maybe can play in space. And in my opinion, right now, the bulk of our league is still so run-oriented. We need the bodies that can stop the run, because that's still where I don't think we hit it right. And to me, it's not just balance, but the ability to be solid at it. So it's not 50-50 or even yards, 200 and 200. It's how efficient, how many 3 and 4 and 5 and nickels are there when you run the ball that keep you on schedule. You know what I'm saying? How many times when when you're a good running team, the red zone is so much easier. And inside the 10, tight zone is so much easier. And the third and mediums are so much easier, because there's a lot of stress that comes off of you. So to me, balance means you can do both well. Never was a stat number. For example, we go no huddle. There were games last year where we had 70 plays and the opponent had 70 plays. So I still don't understand how our defense gets more tired than them. 70 and 70. We had it 24 minutes, they had 36 minutes, but they're standing around. The deal is, if you go no huddle, you need more plays. You need more, because it's like at-bats, right? It's at-bats. Why do you bat the best guy 1, 2, 3 to get more swings? The reason you're going no huddle, you want more cuts. You want 80, 85 cuts, not 70, 75. Then at the end, your time possession is about the same, but the snaps played, 85 snaps versus 65 snaps. We want to get to there. In your run game deal, it's not balance, it's execution. It's being able, because if you can run the ball, you can play action. If you can run the ball, does that mean? No. Good, because then they say I was Coach Sampson or something, right? All right. It wasn't me, so I want to hear that. So, what I'm saying? It's a great question, but here's the deal. I think our stats look pretty good. Our running and competitive stats are horrible. Our third down conversions are horrible. Our ability to score points when we get to the 35 is horrible, because the other stats look kind of good, but it doesn't relate to points, and points relate to wins. And the run game you're talking about will give us the wins. And so we'll use that as an opportunity. He says he might have a critical one, because Terry snuck one in for you. He says, is there anything critical you want? Need? Good to go? Appreciate y'all being here.